Welcome to this explainer. Imagine, if you will, a remote village just completely paralyzed by absolute fear the second the sun sets. We're talking about a 400-year-old terror that literally stalks the night. Well, today, we're unraveling the spine-chilling lore of Taboo 3. We'll be looking into the historical texts, the ancient legends, and the truly terrifying sequence of events that brought an entire kingdom to its knees. There's a lot to cover, so let's not waste any time. So we actually start right in the middle of a terrifying, incredibly vivid, recurring nightmare. Our modern-day protagonist, Megna, wakes up in a cold sweat. In these dreams, she isn't herself. She is a princess in a grand palace. She feels a heavy hand on her shoulder and just lets out a blood-curdling scream in the pitch dark. And it's not just a bad dream. It is the very first thread in a massive ancient puzzle that is actively bleeding into reality. Because you see, outside of Megna's nightmares, the present-day stakes are incredibly high, and they are very real. The entire village is currently on a strict lockdown, paralyzed by the imminent threat of entities known only as the Nishir Molo. As darkness falls, the terrified locals have gathered together in an old, torchlit fort, desperately seeking the protection of a newly arrived, highly skilled tantric. They need answers and, well, more importantly, they need to survive the night. To understand the absolute monstrosity they are facing outside those fort walls, the tantric realizes he must take everyone back in time. Part 1. Flashback to 1626, the reign of King Vishwajit. Okay, let's dive into this. To uncover the true historical origins of this haunting, we really have to look at how the dominoes first started to fall. The kingdom was facing a severe crisis. A deadly pandemic was sweeping through the land like wildfire. Desperate, King Vishwajit travels to seek help from a neighboring ruler, but his chariot suddenly breaks down in a dense forest. There, right by a well, he meets Damayanti. She's a beautiful tribal woman who possesses a shocking supernatural ability. She can literally read minds. She immediately proves her worth by warning the king that the neighboring ruler, King Indrasen, isn't planning to help at all. Actually, he's plotting an assassination to steal his kingdom. The king, totally mesmerized by her beauty and incredibly grateful for his life, just marries Damayanti instantly. Now, this sudden marriage creates a massive divide in the royal family. It's night and day. On one hand, you have Princess Meghalaya completely stepping up. She is entirely focused on saving her people and finding a cure for the raging pandemic. But on the other hand, her father, King Vishwajit, just completely abandons his royal duties. Blinded by his new marriage and what becomes an unhealthy, all-consuming obsession with Damayanti, he essentially checks out as a ruler. And while the king is distracted, the princess achieves something nothing short of incredible. Seriously, after a rigorous mystical quest, she manages to cultivate a magical seed that produces a glowing green sap called Mrityunjay Amrit. And the magic number here is 3. Just 3 drops of this sap are needed to cure literally any disease. In a span of just 2 months, the princess's tireless efforts and this miraculous medicine completely eradicate the pandemic from the entire kingdom. It's just a massive, massive triumph for her leadership. Part 2. The Witch's Dark Secret, a Century of Deception. Now, what's really interesting about this is, just as the kingdom heals and breathes a huge sigh of relief, a dark hidden truth about the king's new bride comes to light. Without any warning, Damayanti undergoes a shocking physical transformation. She rapidly ages right before the king's eyes until she looks over 100 years old. She then reveals her terrifying true nature with this absolutely chilling quote. "I am a Dian, a witch who must bathe in the blood of 11 corpses to restore my youth." She explains that if she doesn't get this blood by the night of the next Ekadashi, she will perish. So, faced with losing his obsession, the king just descends into absolute madness. I mean, he absolutely refuses to let Damayanti die, so he issues a horrifying, unthinkable decree. He actually orders his royal guards to literally steal fresh corpses from grieving families before they can even be cremated. He blatantly denies his own citizens their sacred final rites, willingly sacrificing the eternal souls of his people just to keep his witch bride young. And naturally, this supreme betrayal sparks an immense, bubbling outrage among the terrified villagers. Moving on to Part 3. Birth of the Nishir Molo, this secret rebellion. And this brilliantly illustrates how the desperate villagers decided they just couldn't allow this desecration to continue. To protect their dead, they organize a clever, completely silent protocol. Step 1. Absolutely no crying or public mourning to alert the king's spies. Step 2. 4 specially appointed men secretly take the body right at the stroke of midnight. And step 3, they perform a quiet, hidden cremation deep in the forest, ensuring the soul finally finds peace. So the crucial point is that these 4 men were named the Nishir Molo, Nishi meaning night and Molo meaning pallbearer. Think about the profound irony here for a second. The horrifying monsters that the present-day village fears so deeply, the creatures they are literally hiding from right now, were originally brave, noble heroes putting their own lives on the line to protect their community. But, secrets rarely last forever. The king's spies eventually catch on after 15 days of 0 reported deaths, so they set a brutal trap. On a fateful Saturday night, the spies ambush the Nishir Molo in the pitch dark. They mercilessly slaughter the 4 noble men and steal the coffin they were carrying, securing the 11th and final corpse Damayanti needed. The very next morning, she emerges from her chambers fully restored to her youthful, beautiful avatar. But the tragedy doesn't actually end with their murder. Because of their sudden violent deaths, while fulfilling their sacred, uncompleted duty, their spirits are cursed. As the tantric explains to the huddled villagers, they don't know they are dead. They wander every Saturday night, protecting the coffins from the king's men. They are tragically trapped in a 400-year-old loop of duty, mistaking innocent, present-day villagers for the king's hostile guards. They're really just trying to do their jobs. Which brings us to part 4, the unsolved mystery, shadows of the present. So we are back in the present day, inside the old torchlit fort where this tragic 17th century lore is the direct cause of the danger lurking right outside. While history explains who the Nishir Molo are, there are still massive missing pieces to this puzzle. First, why awaken right now after 400 years? Like, what triggered them? Second, what actually happened to King Vishwajit, Princess Meghalaya, and the witch Damayanti? Their fates are completely unrecorded. To find these answers and stop the haunting, the tantric realizes he must perform a highly dangerous ritual to locate an ancient text called the Biram Porporan, hidden somewhere deep within the ruined palace. Which leaves us with the most pressing, fascinating question of all. What is Meghna's true connection to the 400-year-old Princess Meghalaya? Why are her vivid nightmares pulling her directly into this ancient curse, just as the Nishir Molo return to walk the earth? We've unpacked the history, but the real mystery is clearly just beginning. What do you think binds Meghna to the past? Is it reincarnation, a bloodline, or something even darker? Keep this question in mind, because this story is far from over. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and we will see you next time.